Recording it. Awesome. So Kamo, we were talking about this challenge, right? We were talking about. Let me just give a quick recap. We were talking about the area challenge where we have to take in inputs, right? So what we did first in triangle.py, we first analyzed the problem. We understood the problem. We wrote some really basic pseudocode here in English, which is really simple. We need to take in inputs of the lengths of a triangle, A, B, and C. And then we need to perform some sort of computation and calculate the area. And we were given the formula over here, which is the area of a triangle. And then we need to do, we need to art the lengths of the lengths and the area. And the output needs to look something like this, right? The area of the triangle with sides 3, 4, and 5 is the area. The area needs to be calculated using this formula over here. All right. So we understand the problem, and Kamo was helping me through this problem, right? And we were doing the first step over here. We were trying to get in the inputs, and Kamo said that we need to take in the inputs of the different sides, right? So basically, we take in the input of A, and whenever we take in an input, we need to sort of we can write a prompt, right? We can leave it blank, but we can also write a prompt, right? And when I say prompt, I mean, you can type this over here, right? You can type this like this. You can say copy and then paste it. Right, so we can say enter the length of the first side, okay? And then let me just copy that over here and over here. You can enter the length of the first side, the second side, and the third side, okay? And if I run this code now, so it's actually good practice to consistently run your code rather than writing all your code at once and then just running it at the end. So you should always run your code while the program is running. So you can enter the length of the side A. So let's see what we took in over here. We took 3, 4, and 5, right? So let's do that. 3, 4, 5, right? And oh, it looks like we're still doing math square root over here. Looks like we're still doing math square root over here. So I'm just going to comment that out, right? And basically now we've done the first step. So I mean, look, a couple of people have actually just joined the call. So I'm just going to give a quick recap once again. So guys, we're basically doing the triangle.py challenge, right? And we analyze the problem, right? So the first step to solving any problem, right, is to first analyze it, understand it, okay? And then you can come up with some pseudocode, which is like your really basic algorithm. And we came up with pseudocode over here in English, right? And we identified that for the triangle.py challenge, we first need to take in inputs A, B, and C, and then we need to perform a computation, which is the area, right? So we need to, and luckily in the problem itself, we were given the formula over here, and then we need to output the lengths, right? And the area, okay? So basically now we took in the inputs, right? We've done the first step successfully, right? And now we'll move on to the next step, which is to perform the computation, all right? So to perform the computation, first we need to calculate S, okay? So we can literally continue with, we can literally use the same formula up here. So first we need to calculate S, okay? And we need to do A plus B plus C, right? And then you can divide everything by 2, okay? And there's actually a problem here, right? And this is the same problem we encountered yesterday. So all the inputs we're taking in over here, we're actually taking them in as string, right? So if we run this code, right, if I print this, if I try to print S, right, I should get an error. Let me run that. So if I take in, oops. If I take in the length of the first side, second side, third side, see, I got an error, right? And the error is really simple. It's the same thing as yesterday. We're taking in strings. We're taking in these numbers as strings, and we're performing int operations on it, right? We're trying to add strings. Like Python is so confused. Python's wondering, what are you doing? Why are you adding strings, right? So what we need to do is we need to specify a type. And since we're doing some sort of division over here, it's not really a bad idea to do float, but then I'm just going to stick with int, right? Right. And now if I run that, and I should get my S value. Cool. So we did get our S value, right? And if you clearly see over here, we're still getting 6.0, right? And the reason why we're getting a float over, so when I say 6.0, this is no longer int, right? Int is when it's just 3, 4, or 5. When there's 6.0 and there's a decimal, it's a float. And Python is smart that way, right? Python has identified that we're trying to do a division over here, and it's automatically converted it into a float, right? Because if you do a division with integers, right, you'll get some rounded figure, and you don't want that, right? So we'll basically be getting a float digit over here, okay? And that is the S value, okay? Now, the next step is to calculate area, okay? So area is equal to square root, right? So we were speaking earlier about how cool Python is, and Python has all these cool libraries, such as the math library, and you can do a whole bunch of operations with it. In the previous video, Asif did the exponent challenge, right? Which basically took in two numbers, like a base number and a power number, and it pretty much did an operation. So you would be able to calculate 2 cubed with just one function, and there's functions in the math library that allow you to do these things. So you can do square root, you can do addition, you can do a whole lot of things, and you can always Google and see what's possible. How do I know that I have to do math.square root? I actually saw it over here in the hint, right? We got a hint over here that we can use the library, and we can do math.square root, use the square root function. So I'm just going to use that here, math.square root, right? And we're squaring, we have to pretty much use this formula over here. So I'm just going to copy paste that real quick. Right? So as you can see, because the formulas were provided, this challenge is relatively simple, right? We were pretty much just doing S, which is the S we calculated over here. And then we're doing S times S minus A times S minus B times S minus C. And I should get the area value now, all right? So what I'll do is I'm gonna print the area. Okay, and let's see what we get. So 3, 4, 5, right? So we can see the area is 6, okay? And that's exactly what was expected over here, right? So a triangle of sides length 3, 4, and 5 is 6. Cool. And we got 6. That means the formula works, right? And now we've completed step 2 of our algorithm, right? Now we just need to complete step 3 of the algorithm, right? So let me just copy paste that here. Copy paste that here. And then the last step is to output the lengths, right? And for outputting the lengths, we just need to do print. And I'm just going to copy paste this line over here, okay? So as a developer, if you're not copy pasting, what are you doing, right? So over here, what you can do in Python is you can, let me just extend this a little bit. You can do commas, and you can type multiple variables on one line, which is really cool, right? Okay, almost done. Actually, I think that is still necessary, the full stop. And finally, 6.0, right? So basically, you can see what I simply just did right now is I just put everything in one line over here. So if I run this code and take in the inputs 3, 4, 5, right? You can see that we're able to output everything like this. in one line, right? So basically, what we need to do now is we just need to replace these values with A, B, and C, right? And then we need to replace this with area. And we're pretty much done, right? So that's about it. So now if we run this code, 3, 4, 5. And you can see that these lengths, and you can see that we got the output that was expected, right? So as you can see, there's a problem with the output over here, right? There's a little gap over here, right? So there's a nifty trick we can do to solve that, right? So what you can do is we can actually just put this, right? We can convert this into a string, right? So you know how we did int over here? We can do the same thing with string, right? And what we'll do is we'll call this string area, and then you can just do plus. Okay, and if we run that, cool. So now you can see that this is exactly what we expected. So this is it, guys. This is the solution for this problem, right? I hope it makes sense. Please comment in the chat if this made sense. If you understood it, please type yes. If you did not understand, please type no. We're all here to help one another. Thank you, Nom Nikelo. Lonwabo, thanks. Thanks, Sarah. Cool. Waiting to hear more yeses. Please type no if it didn't make sense. I don't mind going through it one more time. So I don't see, okay, thanks, Lisa, thank you, sorry for that.
Okay, I understand everything as well. I'm just looking for the section here where I can type my message. I wanted to type the yes that I'm with you guys, but I somehow lost the
Okay, so
section.
you basically have to just
But
look
I'm
for
with
the
you
chat.
guys 100%.
You have to just look for the chat button. There's normally a chat button. But yeah, thanks, Kamo.
Oh,
Cool,
there
guys.
we go. Thank you.
Great. So this is awesome, guys. I think we can move on to the next challenge then, right? If this is clear. Okay. Asif, do you want to take the next challenge?
Cool. I can take that one. Do you want to walk through it together, dude?
Yeah, we can do that. No problem. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Next one's time.py. Cool. Let's get there. Hope my connection mustn't drop again, but see how it goes.
Now we'll do this.
But I'm sharing my screen now.
Yeah.
All right, share. Can everyone see my screen? Please type a yes in the chat. Okay, how many minutes before this call ends? Before you want to start a new one?
I think there's plenty of time.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I think everyone can see my screen. I'm just going to move on to time.py. Let's check what this is.
So as you can see, guys, we haven't actually attempted these questions before. We're literally just doing it along right now with you guys. I mean, look, we did attempt it, but it was like 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's just about practicing makes it perfect. You just keep on practicing and doing it over and over until you know when to use what. And you know, things will just come in your head intuitively. All right, so it's saying write a program called time.py for checking the availability of a time entered by the user as a set of 3 integers, all right? In the professional software, it's never assumed the input from users is valid, so you need to do this in your own programs. In this case, you want to check if the number of hours is between 0 and 23, including these two. The number of minutes is between 0 and 59, and the number of seconds between 0 and 59, inclusive. 3 samples of program behavior. These are our sample input outputs. So if you put in 21, 7, and 7, right, that time is valid. Then we have 25 as number of hours. You see it's out of the bound, so this shouldn't work. 7 is out of the bound, so it shouldn't work. 0 is also in the bound, but wrong. So your time is invalid. And then here we have 21, which is in the bound. We have 7, which is minutes, which is in the bound. 72 is not in the bound, so it's invalid. Cool. So this one is a bit trickier compared to the other ones, right? This one requires a lot of ifs and ands and ors because these are checks you're making a lot of them, right? That's the first thing that should come. Like for the exponent function, the first thing that comes in the head should be loops. The first thing that should come here is ands and ifs and ors, right? Because you're checking if something is equal, if something is equal, and here if something is equal to this, right? So like there are 3 conditions that have been met, right? So this is our analysis section, right? We're analyzing our problem over here. Hope I'm not missing anything, right? Cool. So this one we're all going to do together as a group, right? I mean, we've worked almost three or four programming questions together. This should be our fourth one, I assume, right? So let's work on this one together, right? And let's get this done so we can all go home. Cool, my Ripple's still loading. Wait, is it connected? All right, let's comment this out. Okay, how do I comment everything at once?
Do command slash.
Command hash.
No, command slash.
Oh. There you go. So if you guys want to learn that trick, this is how we do it. So if you're using Windows, it's control with slash. If you're using a Mac, it's CMD plus slash, right? Just comments all your code for you at once. Cool. So now what we're doing is working on the next thing. Time like PY. Cool. So what we're doing is we're looking for.
Let's analyze the problem, right? So let's first start with the analysis, right?
All right. So where's the question? Here it is. So we have hours, minutes, and seconds, right? And we have a range that we want to enter for each one of them. Correct? So 0 to 23, 0 to 59, 0 to 59, right? So let's write that down because that's important for us. Hours is 0 to 23. Minutes is 0 to 59. And seconds is 0 to 59, right? But remember, we want to include these, correct? These are all inclusive. Inclusive for all 3 of them, right? So yeah, so we just want to check if given a value, we are having these things in there, right? So we're going to need some inputs, right? So let's say we have some inputs. So we have 3 inputs. 3 inputs. Yep, as you can see in our question here, 1, 2, 3, and you have 1 output whether your time is valid or not, right? Time valid or not is your output. All right, cool. So we analyze our problems. We have these are our results of our analysis. Let's move on to what would be now run our pseudocode. Like what will it look like, right? Let's assume we have all the three inputs, right? And we have, let's say input one. Let's say we have h as our input, then we have minutes, seconds as our input. We've got these already, right? So the first thing we want to do is we want to know, we would have a variable, right? Let's say a valid, and I would code valid. I would say valid, which would be equal to false, right? Or let's say true, right? So what I mean by this is my indicator, right? That will tell me whether something is correct or it's valid, or the time is invalid or valid, right? The moment it's you get invalid, right? We're going to change the variable to false, right? And this might not make sense. So we'll see how it works with the code. All right. So now what I'm going to say is I'm going to say I want to know if my h is between 0 and 23. But I want to include my 0, so I'm going to say -1 and 24. Okay. And if it is, I'm going to continue for my next if, right? I'm going to say if my minutes is between 0 and 59. I want to include my zeros. I'm going to say -1 and 59. Great. Then I'm going to check if my seconds is between -1 and 59. Okay, am I going the right way here?
Yeah. Keep it going.
All right. All right, cool. Now we need to, so these are our 3 checks, right? But we also need to know that what should you do if it is correct, if it's wrong, right? So if it's correct, I want you to go to the next one, right? I want you to trigger this if not, I want you to do an else. I want you to say that else, and I want you to say that I want to make valid. I want to make it false, right? Because
So
it's not
Asif,
valid anymore.
I think look, Asif, this is like the brute force way of doing it, right? So we could also use the and operators or operators. So I think just like by a quick response in the chat group, have you guys heard of the and operators and or operators? Please type yes if you have and type no if you haven't.
Should we do it through that, using that method?
Yeah, I think so. Nomnikelo hasn't heard of the and or operators. Asif, you want to just do a quick Google search so we can show them like this part of the process, right?
Right, cool. And or operators
Python.
in Python. Let's check that. Here it is, right? So you can see we have an AND operator, correct? So if we say that x, let's say we have x is less than 5 and x is less than 10, right? This is our example, right? What happens now is that if we have x and both of these are true, okay, and the statement will return true, and we can try that over here. So x, which is equal to 5, right? And we want to check if x is greater than 3 and x is less than 5. Okay. what would happen here? Anyone can tell me what the answer is? I think, cool, I think I'm just gonna answer it. So if you run this, you should see that we should get true over here because x is greater than x is greater than 3, so 5 is greater than 3. X is less than 10, it is, so it should be true, right? That's what AND does. AND checks if two things match, okay, this and this. So it's like, I want this thing to match and this thing to match, then do something, right? That's what it does. And if I say or, right, this should work anyways because x is greater than 3 and x is less than 10, right? So if I just make this x is less than, x should be less than, let's say 6. It is, let's say 2. Yeah. Can anyone tell me what the answer will be over here? It's simple English, this or this. If one of them is true, return true. Right? So anyone can give me the answer to this?
So Nomnikelo actually
False.
sent false. Lonwabo sent true.
And Leonardo sent true. All right, let's see what's going to give us. Let's compare this, right? So we have x, right? And x is greater than, is x greater than 3? This is greater than 3. 5 is greater than 3. Yes, that will give us true, right? And then x is less than 2. Nope, this will give us a false.
Yeah.
But remember, it's an OR operation, right? Let's run this. Gives the true because x. How OR works is the moment the first one is right, correct? It's going to give you a true, right? So you want to check this or this works, then do something. That's how OR works. And if this and this works, so and you have all the conditions have to be met for and, right? So let's say, let's write it down. And all conditions need to be met. And then, or only one condition needs to be met. Okay, does this make sense to everybody? Please try for yes. If not, we will redo it. This makes sense. And Sarah, beautiful, great.
Awesome. So Asif, we have about 10. We have about 10 minutes left. I think we can actually wrap up the solution in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm just gonna quickly. Cool. I think everyone understand what this means then. It's gonna go here. Let's use the and then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna say, so we're just gonna say if h, right, is greater. So if h, so h should be less than, so h should be greater than -1, and h has to be less than 24, right? Because we want to include the 23. That's our first check. Okay, we wrap this one. All right, and then we say and, right? Okay, am I going the right way here?
I think you have an extra parenthesis, bro. I think just, that parenthesis, it has to be outside.
This one?
Yeah, that has to be outside on the right of the and. The second, cool. On the right of it. Yeah, there.
All right, and then we're saying and, well, we now want to check if the minutes is greater than 0 and the minutes is less than, actually 60 here, and it should be -1. Yep, and then we have another check and. So basically we're saying all these things have to meet for us to give it, for value to be true, or we can remove, we don't need this anymore because I'm using a different method. For this to work out, right? I'm just gonna say seconds should be greater than and then again seconds should be less than 60.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
And then close the bracket.
Oh, what happened? Hold on, something messed up.
What's up?
I have no idea.
Scroll down.
There you go. And S should be less than 60. Yep.
Also, if you have to add
All
another,
right, so we say,
you have to add another closing bracket at the end.
yeah. I mean, it's a pseudocode, so it doesn't matter what. Right. So right now we're saying that H has to be greater than -1 because it has to be greater than 0. The hours has to be greater than 0. And the hours have to be less than 24, which means it includes the 23. Correct? It leaves out the last one. Right? So you can see that only if these two meet, we'll get a true over here. Now the same thing here. These have to meet, so we should get a true, and these have to meet. Only if, and then we have ands over here, right? So which means, oh, this has to be true, and this has to be true, and this has to be true. So this has to be true first. First of all, this has to be true. Once this is true, we check if this is true, right? Then we check if this is true, right? Once we have 3 trues here, so we check if this whole thing, this whole thing, and incorporated by these two ands here, right, to tell you that it's true. If anything is false, right, it's not gonna work. Does this make sense to everyone? Please type a yes. If not, we can redo it. Okay, we're getting yeses. Lit.
Awesome.
I think great. So we're gonna convert this to Python, right? Someone's gonna help me write this code. So I'm gonna just comment that out. Yep. Let's move on. Cool. So first thing we want is inputs, right? That's what it says. Made inputs. Who can help me write the inputs? Renwabul, do you want to help me? Nomnikelo, help me with the inputs. Please unmute Nomnikelo.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Nomnikelo, we can hear you.
Hello.
So I think the input would say input hours equal to input enter hours.
So basically, Asif, what she said is hours is equal to input, and then in quotes, enter hours.
Yes.
Asif, are you there? Hello? Hello? I think something's wrong with Asif's connection. Cool, so let me do this. Let me share my screen. Unless Asif somehow comes back. All right, cool. Let me share my screen, okay? And we can actually continue with the challenge, okay? Cool, so I'm just gonna create a new REPL. Let me just quickly open up the question. Cool, so REPL is here right now. And basically what the question said is we need to take in the 3 inputs, right? As Asif said. And then we need to see if the hours are between 0 and 59 included, right? Sorry, not 0, 59, 24. And we need to see if minutes is between 0 and 59 included, right? And we need to check if seconds is between 0 and 59 included, right? And then we need to output valid or not valid, right? And we can come and just confirm in the question one more time, right? And we basically need to take in the hours, minutes, and seconds, and we need to see if the hours is between 0 and 23 inclusive, and 59 and 59 for minutes and seconds. All right. So I just need to change this to 23, right? And Asif actually wrote some pseudocode, and we were basically at the phase where we were trying to enter the input, right? So I can see that time is about to run out here. So I think we can continue this in the last video. So I'm just going to send one final link. Apologies, guys, for this. We'll be upgrading our account, I guess, before the next webinar. But yeah, so I'll just send out a new link in just a moment, and please rejoin the link. And I think it'll be about 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll wrap up the question. Okay. So I'm just going to end the call now.